In April of 2019, a trailer was released online for Paramount Pictures' Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Fans of the original video game franchise were excited to see what the live-action movie adaptation was going to look like. But then, millions of people opened the trailer to be greeted by this guy, which looks a lot less like the original Sega character and more like some kind of freakish raccoon creature who got into a carton of blueberries. What happened next was a unique moment in internet history. Everyone came together to bully the filmmakers so hard that they were forced to delay the film and spend millions of dollars changing the design of the character. And now that the whole thing has actually turned into a massive movie franchise in its own right, let's take a look back at Ugly Sonic, the hedgehog that almost was. Development of the film started all the way back in June of 2014, when Sega first announced that they would be taking Sonic to the big screen. At the time, it was Sony developing the movie, and it took almost 2 years for them to even announce the release date, which was set for 2 years after that. So progress was obviously off to a flying start. And in October of 2017, Sony decided to put the project in turnaround, which means they were essentially abandoning it. Maybe they took one look at the blue demon they had created and decided to save humanity from witnessing it. But the film was acquired by Paramount, who pushed the release date to November of 2019 and kept working on it. They started announcing members of the cast, and all seemed to be well. But the first sign of danger came in December of 2018, when the first poster was revealed. And it didn't even really show us Sonic, just a silhouette. But people were already a little bit unsettled, with PC Gamer calling the poster creepy as hell and asking, "What is up with those legs?" Ah, if only the legs were the biggest issue. And then there was the big reveal, when Ugly Sonic was finally unveiled to the world. It was already weird enough that the trailer opted to use the song Gangsta's Paradise for some reason, but that was overshadowed by this hideous creature. The first concern was the fur, since the original Sonic design never really emphasized him having hair. And even though the fur they gave him was hauntingly realistic and oddly fluffy, most people could look past that since he was supposed to be a hedgehog anyway. But the real problems lied in the face, especially the eyes. The original Sonic had one conjoined eye, which probably wouldn't really work on film, but the filmmakers instead opted to give him what was essentially human eyeballs, which feel as though they could pierce your soul with their tender gaze. Then there were the teeth, which were also oddly humanoid. They honestly somehow look more realistic than an actual human's teeth. And that's not even mentioning his hands, or why they made his nose look so moist. Needless to say, the criticism was intense. The trailer was quickly swarmed with dislikes on YouTube. Several tweets called Sonic an abomination, as posts about his disturbing design were trending across the internet. The gaming publication Kotaku described Sonic as a blight upon this weary earth. Even the former lead developer of the Sonic video game tweeted about it, saying in Japanese, "I feel like, with this Sonic here, visually, the important thing to look at is the head and body ratio and the roundness of the abdomen. I wonder if they couldn't have balanced them a little better." In fact, the executive producer of the movie, Tim Miller, had talked about Sonic's design a few months before the trailer even came out. In an interview with IGN, he essentially addressed everything that later became a controversy. Regarding the fur, he said, "That was always stage one of adapting it to what the real world is and what a real animal would be like. It would be weird and it would feel like he was running around nude if he was some sort of otter-like thing. Well, I'm glad they stopped it from looking weird." As for the eyes, he said, "I don't think Sega was entirely happy with the eye decision, but these sorts of things you go, it's going to look weird if we don't do this. But everything is a discussion, and that's kind of the goal, which is to only change what's necessary and stay true to the rest of it." Seems like they decided what's necessary was every single aspect of his appearance. Describing their approach to the character, Miller said, "The first thing you need to do is put limits on it. If you can do anything, nothing is special. For me, it's always about keeping it grounded and keeping it realistic. Because when I think about a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, the first thing I want is for it to feel grounded and realistic. The movie is about a talking blue hedgehog who can run fast and uses rings to open portals, but let's make sure we keep it grounded and realistic. At this point, it was pretty clear that the only people on the planet who wanted Sonic to look like this happened to be the producers and director of the film. The response from everyone else was so passionate that you could probably unite Israel and Palestine over a shared hatred of Sonic's appearance. So Paramount Pictures opted to do something that had never really been done before: actually listening to the fans. A few days after the trailer came out, the director Jeff Fowler addressed the controversy on Twitter, saying, "Thank you for the support and the criticism. The message is loud and clear. You aren't happy with the design and you want changes. It's going to happen. Everyone at Paramount and Sega are fully committed to making this character the best he can be." I'm not sure what support he was referring to, but at least he heard the criticism. Fowler later said that after the trailer first dropped, he, quote, "allowed myself about 5 to 10 minutes of pity and feeling sorry for myself. And we can only pretend to imagine the anguish that Ugly Sonic was causing him." Still, they were determined to get it right, or at least get it to a point where they couldn't blame Ugly Sonic if the film bombed. To do so, the studio delayed the movie by 3 months and poured an additional $5 million into the budget to pay for the redesign. The whole thing took 5 months for the animation team, who were frantically working to eliminate Ugly Sonic from this mortal plane. Jim Carrey, who plays the film's antagonist, was a bit concerned about the whole thing, saying, "I don't know quite how I feel about the audience being in on the creation of it while it's happening. I just hope he was satisfied with how grounded and realistic his character felt." Thankfully, when the second trailer came out in November of 2019, the response was overwhelmingly positive. Fans praised the updated Sonic look for how much it resembled the actual character it was supposed to be. Who would have guessed that that was the key all along? Technically, this was not the first time that a studio has made changes to a movie. When the 2019 Cats adaptation was released, the studio realized that they had left several CGI errors in the movie, such as when Judi Dench's human hand replaced her character's paw. At least they gave her the respect of leaving her wedding ring on. But the studio only fixed those errors after the film's release, and you might already know that people did not exactly love that movie. But for Sonic, it worked like a charm. The movie ended up grossing $320 million on a $90 million budget. And we've since gotten 2 sequels with another one on the way, as well as a Paramount Plus miniseries. And looking back, it's crazy to think that if they hadn't euthanized Ugly Sonic, we probably wouldn't have the Sonic the Hedgehog cinematic universe that's now so widely beloved. I've also seen none of them, by the way. Not even the first one. Had to get that off my chest. Didn't want to lie to you. I mean, I know I never said I had seen it, but it felt like it was implied. So, just wanted to clear that up. Now please consider subscribing, or you'll find Ugly Sonic rummaging in your trash.